Radio has always been on the cutting edge of contesting, and there's a good reason for that. It's because listeners respond, especially the most important of all those listener types, those who participate with rating services. But times have changed, and the method of attracting response doesn't work the same way it has in the past. Hi, I'm Tracy Johnson, and today I'm going to show you how contests can produce dramatic and measurable ratings results. And I hope this will change how you view giveaways on the air and cause you to rethink every contest on your station. As we start, let's identify the terms I'm using today. Now, if you're an air personality or a program director, it's important to understand that contests and games are different things. In this seminar, I'm going to refer to contests as a means of incentivizing listeners to respond by listening longer or listening more. Now, you might play some interactive games on the air, some trivia games and things like that are more about the entertainment value than they are about the prize. These are different strategies and different motivations for participation. So keep in mind as we talk about this, I'm talking about growing ratings through incentives, the prizes, and contests. So with that, let's get started. Why do we have giveaways? What are they important? Why are they important? Why should stations do them? A lot of times stations will get off track with their contesting strategy. They lack a strategic focus. They'll use giveaways tactically and not strategically. So why do we even have them? Well, there's 4 reasons. Number 1 is we can create excitement. It sounds good to have an excited winner on the air, and it gives the station momentum. It gives the personalities something to talk about. Number 2 is it enhances our brand. The right prizes will make a statement about your station values and what you represent and what you stand for. Number 3 is kind of sad. It's that the sales manager made me do it. And this is becoming more and more common than ever, but it's also our reality. And number 4 is to increase the ratings. Now, this is the real reason we do contests, to influence ratings. A giveaway should do all 4 of these things, but the most important reason is to drive that ratings meter. Now, the ratings game is all about getting the most recorded or reported listening by those in the ratings pool. But the way that we traditionally give away prizes doesn't really accomplish that. Do you really think that hyping caller number 10 to win concert tickets delivers increased quarter hours or more appointments? Does shouting at listeners to listen at specific times for the cue to call, then hoping to be the right caller, really work? I know your phone lines light up, but what happens really when caller 10 promotions come on the air? Almost exclusively, the only callers who are participating are those who already happen to be listening. Now, the first 9 that actually take the time to pick up the phone and call are told, sorry, you're a loser, try again. And a lot of times they'll say, oh, wow, caller number 8, cool, I was close. I was also caller number 3. And then caller number 10 gets through, but a lot of times they don't even remember why they were calling or know why they were calling or what they've won. They just heard the invitation to call and the phone number. So your prize goes to someone that doesn't even want it, and a lot of times those people don't even come by to pick up the prize that they've won. And everybody else after caller number 10 gets a busy signal. So how many times do listeners have to get a busy signal before they give up calling and never try again forever? After 4 decades of doing call-in to win contests, we've taught listeners that they really don't have a chance, and they stopped playing years ago. Then we wonder why we can't see a cause and effect relationship between a big cash giveaway that we do on the air and ratings. Yet, I know that contests work. We just need to update the execution and get away from caller number 10. You see, contests don't attract everybody, but they do attract some really important people. They attract ratings respondents, ratings types. Ratings types are unique people. They're willing to do things specifically for an incentive. They're active respondents. They take action to get a benefit, and as a result, they're your most valuable listeners. So let's find out a little bit more about these people, and I'll give you some information that I've learned through some research, starting with a project that Alan Burns and Associates did, where they studied a group of radio listeners that they solicited through radio station, their client databases, and they found that 31% of all the respondents had tried to win a radio contest in the past year. Now, that may seem high to you at first, and 31% is high, but remember that this survey was conducted online, and a lot of those respondents were from the station databases. But here's the key thing. In addition to that, they also asked a question about whether these respondents would participate in a ratings survey. And they found that of ratings respondents, 50%, half of them, had tried to win in the past year. Now, that's pretty dramatic. To put it in other terms, 62% more likely, ratings respondents are 62% more likely to play contests than non-ratings respondents. And if you want to go one step even further, in a separate study, Mark Kassoff found that these respondents can be influenced. He found that 15% of all contest players would listen to a station they don't even like to win a prize that they were attracted to. So it's proven that contest players are ratings participants, and you might know them by another name. Prize pigs. Prize pigs are special people. If we can identify them and incentivize them and communicate with them on a regular basis, you can improve your contesting results and your ratings results, and you can do it dramatically. Let's look at some of the science of this. Out of all the radio listeners, according to Burns, 31% are candidates to play. So let's put the 31% on this grid. That represents the number of radio listeners that are likely to play. But as we talked about, that number does sound high. And just because those who are participating in that research are more active than others, let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Let's cut that down in half, just over half. Let's make it 16%. That sounds fair. So 16% represents the percentage of the market that is willing to play if we come up with an offer that appeals to them. But ratings don't happen overall. You need ratings to happen minute by minute. You need multiple quarter hours, not just an occasional quarter hour. So it's not realistic to expect that 16% of the market is available to play at any time your contest is going on. So let's see what's realistic. In a typical day, we know from rating studies that about 25% of the ratings meters in a market are active on any given day. So let's take our 16% of the market that is available to play and willing to play, and let's take 25% of those and divide that by 4. So now we have 4 out of 100. Just 4% of the total audience that can be influenced today by a promotion. Now 4%, isn't that an interesting number? I've always heard that the number of people who are willing to play in a radio contest ranges somewhere between about 2% and 5%. And there you are at your 4%, right in that range. Now, keep that 4% in mind. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. To increase the ratings, we don't have to get everybody to listen to us, and we don't even have to get people to switch from another radio station to listen to us. We need to increase the overall listening that's coming from those who are contest players. So the goal of your contest should be to increase the overall radio listening from those who are willing to play for an incentive. And here's what that looks like in the real world. Now, this is a real market. We're going to plug in a real life ratings example. This market is 3 million people. And in this market of 3 million people, there are 1,200 ratings respondents in the ratings cycle. But all 1,200 meters aren't active every day. In fact, on any given day, we know that about 25% of those meters are actually turned on. That means only 258 persons today are deciding the ratings. By the way, that's less than 0.1% of the market's population that's deciding the market's ratings. But that's a different topic. And at any given time, between 6 a.m. and 7 p.m., Monday through Friday, any given time during that time, only 15% of the 258 meters are turned on. That means that at any given time right now, 41 meters are listening to radio in the market to decide the ratings. 41 meters. Now in this market, if a station can score a 4.8 share, they'll be in the top 3 every single time. So right now, there's 41 active meters. How many do you need to be a top 3 station in this market? You need a 4.8. That means you need 2 active meters out of 41 at any given time. Now, remember the 4%. I told you to remember 4%. Let's bring the 4% back. If we can influence 4% of the 258 meters to come to the radio, to any radio station, we'll add 10 meters to the listening pool. Now, we can't expect that we're going to get all of the increase in meters coming to our station, but what if we can just get 2 of those meters to come to our station? If we can get 2 meters, we'll go from 2 out of 41 to 4 out of 51, and our share now becomes a 7.8. It's a gain of 3 shares, or a 62% increase in our ratings. Now, if we can get 4 of those 10 people to come to our station, the 2 out of 41 becomes 6 out of 51, and we'll have an 11.7, a gain of 6.9, a gain of 143%. What if we got half of them? 2 out of 41 would now become 7 out of 51, and that's a 13.7, a gain of 8.9 shares, or 185%. Sounds like a magic trick, doesn't it? Now go ask your general manager what a ratings point is worth in your market. In this particular market, it's worth about $800,000 per year. So now how much are contests worth? Contests are worth a lot if you have the right strategy and you're successful. And the key, of course, is to use the right bait. How are we going to find and attract these players? And how are we going to do it consistently? And how are we going to continue to incentivize them to keep coming back over and over and over again? Well, we're doing it all wrong if we're trying to do it by getting them to use the telephone to call us. And here's some more evidence in that. Mark Ramsey provides data that shows the right bait is online. 74% of listeners prefer to win by interacting online or by social media, especially Facebook. But moving our giveaways exclusively online doesn't really help our ratings, does it? Because it doesn't drive listening. So what do? Here's a suggestion. Use online, use social, and use mobile because that's where they are. We need to get in the path of listening behavior. And we need to get them into our database. And not just our listeners, but everyone. Remember, 15% will listen to a station they don't even like in order to win. And there's a lot of potential respondents that may not be listening to you right now. They might not be listening to you regularly, or they may listen and not have a clue about your contest. And believe it or not, there's plenty of people who fit the profile of your target listener, but they haven't found your radio station. So how can we find these people? How can we incentivize them? How can we start a relationship with them online and then learn about their behavior? Learn who they listen to. Learn what they listen to, what they listen for, when they listen to the radio, why they listen. We need to learn their preferences. What other stations do they listen to? What other morning shows do they like? What music do they prefer? What incentives would they respond to? Do they use your station for information and for traffic and weather, or is it specifically for music, or is it personality? What are their preferences? And then what's their lifestyle? Do they go to concerts? Do they go to movies? How much television do they watch? Now, I know what you're thinking. If the promotion is happening online and it's happening by social media, how do we take this engagement and turn it into listening? In other words, how can we impact this ratings period? How can we enhance your brand image? How can we create appointment tune-in? And how can we do all of this in a way that doesn't really get in the way and clutter my radio station? Well, what if I tell you that there's a way of doing that? And you can even put the winner on the air if you want. I'm going to show you an example of a method that we've used at a lot of radio stations and have had tremendous results with it. It's turning the engagement online to driving appointment tune-in on air, creating a one-to-one relationship with those listeners, and then driving them back to the station over and over and over for the reasons that they prefer to use your radio station that has recurring values to the station for an indefinite period of time. And here's proof that this engagement works. Here's a case study that we did. It was a 6-week promotion. We gathered entries online by social media on location. We built the radio station's database from 10,000 to almost 37,000 uniques in that period of time. We incentivized them to share the contest on social media. 27% of them did. And they were playing for an incentive of $500. Now, to win, they had to listen to the radio station at the top of every hour to hear their name. When they heard their name, they had 5 minutes to call us and claim their $500 cash. That's all there was to it. The results, 6 weeks, station share increased by more than 26%. The CUME went up by 15%. And the station rose in rank from number 8 to number 1 in their target demographic. It absolutely, positively works, and we've duplicated this over and over and over again. So what does it all mean? Well, I've got some recommendations for you. Giveaways work, contests work, and promotions work. Incentives work. But they don't work if we keep doing it the same way we've been doing it since 1975. This should impact every single station. So stop wasting thousands of dollars in valuable prizes with no measurable impact. Here are the 7 things that you should do and you should start doing them immediately to enhance your contesting strategies. Number 1 is end your 30-day winner rule. Why do we tell people to go away if they've won a prize? If Prize Pigs are ratings respondents, and they participate over and over and over for incentive, and they're most likely to be those ones who are responding positively when the ratings companies call, why would we restrict them from winning? All we're doing is telling them that once they've won, they should go away and play somewhere else. And they will. Remember the Mark Kassoff quote where he said 15% of your audience will go and listen to a station they don't even like for the right incentive. What we're doing is telling someone who just won the lottery that they can't buy tickets again. Number 2 is deliver the prizes. This is a world where I can order a giant television and it shows up on my doorstep 2 days later. So why do we make our best listeners, the ones most likely to participate in ratings, to drive all the way across town to pick up a pair of movie tickets in person during our business hours? Now, I'll give you an example of this. I was in a radio station lobby for about 15 minutes waiting to see the program director, and 2 things happened. A listener called and asked if they really had to come find the radio station to get their lunch for 2. The receptionist was very nice and explained, yes, I'm sorry, that's our policy. We need you to come in and we need to sign it. And the listener said, well, why don't you just go ahead and give it to someone else then? It's not worth my time to come to your radio station. We missed an opportunity. Just a few minutes later, someone walks in the door. They came in to pick up their prize on their lunch hour, explained that it took him 30 minutes to drive there, and he was missing his lunch hour for this. He wasn't very happy, even though he got his prize. It was a pair of movie tickets and a t-shirt. And he left less than delighted. It was, okay, I got my prize, but I missed my lunch. These are customers. These are customers who mean a lot to us, so mail the prizes. Send the prizes out or deliver the prizes in person. Send that van out that the promotions people don't really have a whole lot going on. Deliver those prizes and spend a couple of hours a day doing it. A little more work, costs a few more cents, but it makes a big impact, and it's making it hard for listeners to like us when we aren't performing in the 21st century. Number 3, mentioned it before, stop call-in contests. They don't work. They haven't worked for years. There's many other, better, more effective ways of doing it. In your language, when you're talking about contests, eliminate the words chance to win. Nobody listens for a chance to win. They listen to actually win. So eliminate that chance to in the proposition. You'll get much better results. Build your smart database. It's more important than ever to have a one-to-one relationship with consumers, and promotions are a great way to be introduced to them. Learn as much as you can about your audience and use that information to build some deep relationships, and there's a lot of different ways to do it. Do it at promotions, do it at events, but get them in your database. If you need some information on how to do that, you can contact me. Number 6 is to rethink your small prizes. You might be thinking it's okay to give away the small prizes in some more traditional ways, like caller number 10, but rethink that too. If a prize isn't worth the time and effort to set up properly, then is it really worth the airtime that you're devoting to it to even give it away? Now, a lot of times, small prizes can have great value, and listeners will respond just as well to small prizes as big prizes because they think it's more tangible and they actually have a chance to win. Just rethink the whole thing. And if you've got a lot of prizes, like a movie premiere, and you've got the whole theater, you've got 300 tickets that you're distributing, instead of making it a contest, think about just handing them out as a thank you for participation, a gift. Or just notify listeners in your database that we'd like to invite you to this movie. In fact, if you know what kind of movies they like, You can contact the people in your database and invite them to come to that action movie that you have going on. So rethink how you distribute and how you use your small prizes. And tip number 7 for your next steps, get started. Start now. Rethink it and do it differently, and you'll have much better results. Growing ratings with contests can happen. It can happen for every radio station. I believe every station can be better at doing it. It's an area that we take a lot of pride in at the Tracy Johnson Media Group. If you have some questions about it, you'd like some more information, there's a ton of information online. Do a search for contests on the site, and you'll find a ton of information there and case studies. Or you can send me an email, and I'll be glad to communicate with you privately. Tracy@tjohnsonmediagroup.com. Thank you very much.